Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and The Immortal Hulk, issue number. Wait, no. The Immortal Hulk was actually a good comic book. No, this is just Hulk, and it's not good. I'm going to explain why in a hot moment. This is Hulk, issue number 2. All right, this issue is called. God help me. This issue is called Smashtronaut Part 2. Donny Cates is the writer, and Ryan Ottley is the artist. Cliff Rathburn on inks, color artist Frank Martin, VC's Corey Petit on inks. The cover artist is Ryan Ottley and Frank Martin. And there's 2 variant covers out there, yay. And I'm sure they're good. Pete Woods is pretty good, and I know that Adam Kubert is amazing with Alejandro Sanchez. Anyway, here, some good things. Ryan Ottley on this. This is Ryan Ottley just doing some work, some incredible work that, let's face it, we've seen it before. So there's nothing new about this comic book. If you like Ryan Ottley's work, you're going to say, yes, this is Ryan Ottley's work, right? I love Ryan Ottley's work, yay. But it's going to remind you of better days when there's actually a great story to go with his amazing work, all right? The confidence that Marvel has in Ottley and Martin is deserved, unlike the confidence that they have in Donny Cates. I'm being dead honest, all right? This is me looking right at the camera, looking right at you. Once the images finish, it's just going to be me looking at you and talking to you candidly about what's going on. Marvel has too much confidence in Cates, and they have an appropriate amount of confidence in Ottley and Martin, right? Rathburn also, but covers, let's face it, covers, the inks are typically done by the penciler also. But when you, I've always said this, I'm going to repeat myself because it bears repeating. When you believe in the art of a comic book, you have the artist do the cover also. All right? Could you imagine if, I don't care if it's a freaking a Steve Ditko, I don't care if it's an Alex Ross, I don't care if it's a Gene Colan, I don't care if it's a Jack freaking Kirby. If one of those 4 people I just mentioned are doing the interior work and somebody else is doing the cover of the comic book, we would all be offended. And we would say, I didn't buy this comic book. I don't care if freaking whoever. I don't care if Bob Ross did the cover, right? No. I want to see the interior art on the cover of this comic book, and not even as a variant. It's like a subpar when you give the interior cover artists a variant cover. No, they should be the main cover, and everything else should be a variant. And I hard stand behind that statement, and no, there is never, ever an excuse otherwise. Zero excuse otherwise. I want the cover artist to be the same as the interior artist. Otherwise, I've already got a problem. Otherwise, that's going to be my very first problem with this book, right? So I'm happy to see that Marvel has that confidence in Ottley, and it's well-deserved. It's well-placed trust. But like I said, we've seen this art before, and I wonder if you guys you probably already figured it out. I don't see it as being very difficult. Donny Cates starts this off with Hulk, the Smashtronaut, smashing through some unknown people. So let's give you the plot here for the beginning, just the throwaway stuff, because that's what Donny Cates does in the beginning. He does some, hey kids, check this out, some throwaway useless characters who get killed in the beginning, right? They show up and they're like, stop, you have crossed the sacred timeline thing, or whatever the hell we're talking about, right? Because I just watched Loki series, and the end, there's a really cool part, so the sacred timeline stuff, yes. You're cross, and we can't let you cross this area of space in between this space and that space in your big green Hulk-looking spaceship. We can't let you do it. We can't let you do it. So stop. No, you got to stop. We're not so tough anymore. No! And they get smashed, and there's body parts and blood floating through space. I've seen that before. I've seen that someplace. I've seen it in lots of places, but one place specifically. And to see that I guess like the way to make it so that Banner's not a total bad guy is that he actually fell asleep at the wheel. Yes, because when you fall asleep at the wheel and plow through a whole bunch of people, nobody goes to jail. It's an oops. Well, they didn't mean it. Anyway, Banner plows through these people, and we're never going to see these useless characters again. They were only there to be killed because that's all you have to do. That's all you ever have to do. There's these cops. You're going to say stop, and you're going to go right through them, and there's never going to be any follow-up with that. Oh, you might see it in the second issue, Bill. Do you think I want to see it in a next issue? Like, is this something that we think that we actually want to see? Right? There are these big tentacles coming out of a portal in space, and they capture the Hulk. They start binding him up. I think I've seen this hentai before, right? I'm pretty sure I've seen this hentai before. Anyways, these tentacles grab Hulk. Oh my god. And they start pulling him back. Scotty the engineer apparently comes out of nowhere, and there's a lot of Star Trek references in this freaking comic book, right? This, what do you call this Scotty type voice is just, Banner's like, we need more power. I'm giving her all I've got. Come on, man. Come on. That's like having a Scotsman named Scotty. We've seen this before in the original series of Star Trek, right? Oh my god. You want a Star Trek reference? Here's one. Beam me up, Scotty. There's no intelligent life down here. So he's stuck and they say something about the engine room. There's not enough power, not enough thrust in the engine room. So if the Hulk is a spaceship, where do you think the engine room is? Where do you think the throttle, the thrust actually comes from? Go ahead. You know you're thinking what I'm thinking, right? Somehow they force-fed the Hulk a whole bunch of enchiladas, and he's pooting his way through space, and these, right? We've got to move a little bit. Okay, Hulk, evasive maneuvers. Start twerking while you fart. Like what am I reading here? What am I reading here? Because the thrust is not coming out of his freaking feet, right? It's not coming out of his hands. This isn't Iron Man's repulsor technology. This is a biological life form without wings, without the ability to fly. You can't jump and do maneuvering and steer, right? When you jump, that's where you're going, right? That's the direction you're going. You're not going to suddenly turn, right? Hulk is farting his way through space, and we're supposed to just be okay with this. The imagination, all right? The rage is supposed to be his real fuel, not enchiladas. It's just rage. Rage gives Hulk acid indigestion, I guess. Rage is doing this like, we need more rage. Push up the rage. Oh, we're at 20% capacity. I can imagine the gas meter to see how much capacity Hulk is at. Anyway, like, this is so dumb. This is breaking my freaking concentration. How horrible this comic book is. Hulk has to get away from these freaking giant hentai tentacles, and I don't know where he's going. But at some point, here's the thing: when somebody comes to a conclusion in a comic book or any kind of a story, and you have no idea where they came to this conclusion from, but the main people are so certain of this, there's some kind of scanning going on. The energy that they're trying to lock in on is gamma. So Banner turns around and says, "The Avengers are tracking us." Really? I don't see yeah, Stark and the rest of the Avengers, they would know to try and follow Gamma because that's the Hulk, but nobody else knows that the Hulk uses Gamma? Nobody else knows this? You just know for a fact it's the Avengers. When Hulk becomes a loser, or Banner becomes a loser mad scientist. Anyway, the imagination in the Hulk, in order to get him more filled with rage, some of the old Marvel monsters, the Jack Kirby Marvel monsters, show up, and freaking Fin Fang Foom is there with his fists ready to start boxing with his little wings and whatnot. This weird little Cthulhu looking thing, boo, 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 let's go, right? My God, I'm surprised they didn't put boxing gloves on them. Anyway, he has to plow through these guys. Wow, the Hulk fighting the old Marvel monsters, more Jack Kirby creations by a Jack Kirby creation. I feel, from everything that I know about Jack Kirby, through interviews, from talking with his family members, specifically his grandson, from interviews by him, and then people who knew him about him, right? People at the Marvel offices, people at the DC offices, right? interviews, written articles, and things like that, from everything I know about Jack Kirby, I genuinely feel like Jack Kirby would come to work and he would see, like, hey, come and get a tour of Marvel offices. And he would see Donny Cates over there and just be like, let's go look at that side of the office. The other side that this guy is on. I genuinely, in my heart, look, you could say I'm being mean or whatever, but I'm being dead. This is me looking right at you, all right? Or the camera, at least. I cannot imagine Jack Kirby wanting anything to do with freaking Donny Cates. Not a single thing. I could see him looking at this guy with just abhorrently, just looking, repulsed by the very sight of him, knowing what he's done to the master's creations. Like, that's just terrible. I can see him trying to ask him really quick, hey, this guy over here, this Donny Cates guy, is he a Nazi? Because I really just want to freaking slug him. You know what I'm saying? That would justify it in my mind if he showed any kind of, he talked to some comic skaters before, you know what? Good enough. Good enough, because I hear that they're Nazis, right? My God. At one point, there's a giant-sized Wolverine, and Hulk, and of course, this is all in his mind. He rips out one of the claws and cuts right through him, and the eyeball of Wolverine goes popping out, and then he stabs Wolverine with his own claw through the heart, and he's got the little, face as he's dying. About the same time that Al Ewing said, and it was known to everybody at this point, every single person in the world was made aware that Ewing is only going to issue number 25, or excuse me, issue number 50 with the comic book. It was around issue number 25 to 30 that everyone should have known by about this point, if you were paying any kind of attention, that, hey, the book is ending. There's some stragglers who found out later because they're just not interested in the internal politics. They just want to read good comic books, right? Maybe they saw my or somebody else's review and like, oh, he's only going to finish until 50. It's like, wait, is that true? He's really only, is this confirmed? Yeah, it was confirmed around issue 25 to 30. Somewhere around there it was confirmed that he's only going to issue 50. So Marvel would have been started thinking about, we should start looking for somebody new to write this stuff, right? Right around that same time, didn't the Invincible television series come out on not Hulu, on Amazon Prime? Yeah, actually it did. I looked this stuff up. It was right around that same time. So anybody who read the comic book or didn't read the comic book, you were exposed to the incredible artwork and the wild Robert Kirkman writing for this story, for that story, right? And we're seeing that here. Donny Cates was heavily influenced by that. And, for this story, it was heavily, you could tell easily through this. And then Donny had this amazing idea that, hey, the artist for Invincible was Ryan Ottley. Ryan Ottley works at Marvel right now. Hey! So, of course, he's going to get him to do this comic book with him. Listen, I can see what's happening here. At some point, I almost expect Scar to be raped by a freaking Virtuite, or what do they call it? The Viditites? Anyway, the vitamin people. Right, remember that one issue? What issue was that? Was that issue 105? Something, anyway. That one issue of Invincible, where the one Vitriite, whatever, one of, the main Superman type characters, this one woman came by and was like, let's do it. I've been saying let's do it. I don't want to do it with you. Oh, yeah? Well, I'm tired of asking. And she rapes him. She rapes the kid. And it's like, oh my God. What the hell am I seeing here, right? I expect at some point Scar to be raped in here. And best case scenario, Donny is thinking to himself, well, I better cross that out now. Because I can almost guarantee you he had that idea in his mind. And Marvel, the way that any corporation works is they look at the best that one of their people has done. And they're always, even if the sales have dropped drastically, they're always like, yeah, but this guy is the diamond in the rough. This is the guy who can do all these amazing things, right? This is the guy who's done this, before, and they're going to forget about the death of the Inhumans, right? And they're going and all the other stuff that he's done that has absolutely failed. And it's going to take a while for them to realize that his best work is behind him, not before him, right? They're going to always have in their mind, oh, but this guy did some amazing stuff back in the day, right? Guys, with all due respect, Brian Michael Bendis has done far more, right? In a shorter period of time, he's done far more amazing works. And look at what happened to Bendis. And God help him. I'm glad that he got better from the SARS and not the SARS, the MRSA, right? I'm glad he got better from all that stuff. But around that time, that's when he just, like, his work just dropped off of the map. Like, his creativity, there was a missing persons report out for his creativity because it just wasn't there. And he messed up Superman. He ruined a bunch of, really amazing stuff out there. The number one seller, I was just talking about this the other day on the Discord, the number one selling comic book that DC was putting out, that more people were just surprised hit, was Peter Tomasi's Super Sons. Bendis is the one who ended that comic book. I have it firsthand. Bendis is the one who went and told Dan DiDio, and I'm completely in charge of Superman and all of the Superman relative characters, right? Yes, you are. You have final say. Well, I have final say, Dan DiDio. I have the final say, but you are absolutely the end-all be-all of Superman right now. It's like, so Superboy is a Superman property, right? Yes, he is. Also created by Jerry Siegel. So when you see Tom Taylor saying, oh, well, Superboy's not a legacy character. Well, if they still give credit to Jerry Siegel, one of the two creators of Superman, I would say that Superboy absolutely is a legacy character, way more than Wolverine or Spider-Man even. So when they made him when they made Superboy bisexual, Tom Taylor said, well, he's not a legacy character, so I don't see what the problem is. This tells me that you don't know much about comic books. I had all the respect in the world for Tom Taylor, but sometimes when you say something dumb, it's like, oh, he gaffed. When you say something stupid, it's like, okay, he really wasn't thinking of that one. When you say something so inherently stupid that everybody turns their heads and starts looking at each other like, am I the dumb one? Like, that was such a profoundly stupid statement. Am I the dumb one? Are we all, like, it's almost like you're being gaslit how horribly wrong a statement can be. But when you add something like the Super Sons, and then Bendis comes by and just smashtronauts his way right through that stuff and just butchers everything to the point where they're like, dude, I want you to tell people that you're resigning from the Superman properties because we're taking you off. You're done. You suck. You've lost it. You've lost everything. Like the Superman stuff, you have killed Superman, right? This is more than freaking Louise Simonson and all those guys have ever done back in 1992, right? You have actually killed, murdered, dead Superman. Nobody's buying his comic books at this point. When you see something like that, right? When you see something that is just so absolute, how could you do something like this? And now the Super Sons are both bisexual, right? Granted, it's Tim Drake and not, but it's still a Robin. You look at this and you're just like, dude, what the hell have you done? What why? Why is this going to happen? This is exactly what I see in Donny Cates' future at this point. When I interviewed the guy, and he revealed that he was only 33 years old at the time, I stopped praising him, and I pulled back hard. Not because I changed my opinion about him, but because I realized something. I was taught when I was younger by, I've had lots of mentors in the martial arts, but I had one mentor who was not a teacher of the martial arts. Go figure, this guy happened to be Chinese, even though he wasn't teaching me martial arts. I know there's a stereotype there, but he was teaching me about organization and order and logistics workflow. And he taught me a lot, and I have benefited greatly from his mentorship. He's a Chinese guy, and he gave me a Chinese metaphor. He says, well, basically an idiom, however you're going to look at it. an old idiom, and anybody who speaks Chinese, I don't care if it's Mandarin or Cantonese, you're going to be able to say this better than I can because I'm going to American my way through. I'm going to smash not my way right through this. When a boss compliments an employee, it's basically him poisoning the employee, right? When your work is at here and you get complimented by a fellow coworker, maybe you think this much of yourself, right? But when a boss compliments you, you start to think that your work is up here. I'm doing this, I got complimented, now in my head I'm up here. But you're not getting treated up here, and within a short period of time, you're not getting a raise or promotion. You start thinking that stuff is forthcoming. So now you suddenly drop your workload to down here, your workflow. Now you're not working, now you're not at the compliment level anymore. Now you're down here, right? And you're thinking that you're up here still. So you start holding back. And this is one of the things that's always happened with Steve Ditko. Anybody who's looked at Steve Ditko just past his Spider-Man days and just past his initial DC day. No, actually, even in his DC days, who's looked at, there's a lot of people who look at Steve Ditko's work like, it's not that good. It's really not that good. You've got to understand, Steve Ditko is one of the greatest artists that we've ever had in comic books. There's a reason why his name is given as a second under Jack Kirby. But most people have never seen his best work because he's one of those people who would get it in his mind. I'm doing a really good job. I'm getting complimented all the time. I believe that my work is up here. It's actually here, but I believe my work is up here, and I'm not getting paid for up here. So I'm going to start performing it down here. Well, now there's an exact opposite disparity, right? And I'm afraid that that's what all of us have inadvertently done to young Donny Cates. Right? And when somebody's 33, when somebody's 18 or 16 even, you don't want to hear somebody saying you're young. But sorry, you're young. And the people who are older than you who are saying you're young, one, it's true because they're older than you. So from their perspective, you're young. They've already been where you're at. There aren't really that many original ideas in the world. There are not that many different things that happen in this world. We all understand. When you get older, you've been there, you've done that. I've got the t-shirt. Well, this is a Daredevil t-shirt, but you get the gist, right? I've been there, I've done that. So you have that experience and you can say, this person's going to have to live through this stuff and I can try and guide, or I can at least try and get out of their way. And I'm afraid that so many of us have complimented Donny Cates that he started to, suddenly the room that he's in, right? Much like much of the Marvel corporate offices, they close the doors, they shut the windows, they started putting duct tapes over all the seals so they could all start smelling their own farts, which are propelling the Hulk through space, and complimenting each other on their own farts. I know this sounds like, Professor, what the hell are you talking about? But stop and actually think about what I'm really saying here. Cates has gotten so much praise. I mean, for crying out loud, if you doubt it, he made a cult to himself. The cult of Cates, right? And so many of us have bought into it. The cult of Cates. There's not a little bit of ego in there, and I know you're going to say, it was done in jest. Yeah, I understand, and he was selling t-shirts, and he was making a profit off of blah, 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 but you can't have that idea. I would never think to make the cult of Professor Bill, right? I would never imagine. Now that I'm thinking about it, no, seriously, I would never even fathom such a silly idea that people are going to love the idea, like, oh, Professor, you're so great at the reviews and blah, 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 blah. That's cool, but they're still just stupid, clunky reviews. That's all they are, right? I'm not going to, if I fart, I'm going to leave the room. I'm not going to sit there and be like, no, that was a pretty good one. I like the way I brewed that one. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I got to remember the recipe for that particular one and replicate that one. No, I'm never going to do that. That's simply not who I am. I'm a lot older than that. I'm a lot more experienced than that. And I'm not going to believe my own hype. I'm never going to believe my own hype. It's not going to happen. All right. At work, I'm being praised all the time. And most of my bosses right now are Chinese. And I've reminded them of this adage. And like, oh my God, you know this idiom. But yes, I do know this idiom. I do know something about other people's cultures, right? But I have to remind them, guys, please stop complimenting me because you're going to possibly give me an ego. I don't like the sound. It's like ringing. It's almost like tinnitus when people start complimenting me. I don't need it. I don't want it. I don't need it. All right? I'm going to keep on performing at my own level. And you either tell me you like it or you don't. I don't need anybody's praise. okay? Because that's only going to hurt me. That's only going to hamper my ability to continue producing the kind of work that you're looking for right now, all right? That's important to keep in mind. In this particular case, Donny has just lost everything that made him special, everything that now he's still unique, but he's uniquely bad, right? I've talked about how Donny only uses tropes. Nobody uses tropes more than Donny Cates. Nobody, not one single person alive in the creative world uses tropes the way that Donny Cates uses tropes constantly. Drinking game. Actually, every time you see some trope where Donny took some idea from somebody else, go ahead and take a swig, bud. Right? You'll be blasted halfway through the freaking guy. Somebody talked about a drinking game. Every time Professor Bill says Hulk is a spaceship, take a drink. Yeah, now actually do it in the comic book because it was worse. Ay. At the end of the day, when you lose the plot, like Donny is really good at putting together a plot. And when you put together a plot, that gives you a pitch, right? You need a good plot because you're going to pitch the plot. You're not going to pitch the character development, okay? Character-driven stories, plot-driven stories. I've talked about this before. Every single character-driven story is not good, but every good story is character-driven. You get it? There are no bestseller plot-driven stories. Not one. Not one single plot-driven story has ever been titled or won an award for being a best story. Because that's more like nonfiction. All right? Very different. There's no story there. You'd have to be Teddy Roosevelt to have a story that damn good. Right? And even then, it would still be character-driven, a biography. But Donny Cates has just been doing great plot, right? Because I can see these ideas being made good. But Donny does not understand how to make an interesting character. He just doesn't. He really doesn't get it. And every time that he does, he starts adding more plot to it. So it overwhelms. Like, there were some good parts of the Venom story that he was doing. There were. I'm not going to sit here and try and fluff it up, and downgrade the guy. There were some really great moments in there where it's like, this is great. But once he actually added some real character development to his books, he suddenly threw a whole bunch more plot on top of it. Because in his mind, this is just opening the door so I could do more stuff later. But there's too much plot. And you're taking away, it's detracting heavily from the actual story. That's not what you need. That's not what we need, so it's definitely not what you need. Plot gives you the ability to make a good pitch. A good pitch is what gets you approval for a story. But character is what makes us say we want more. Guys, I know there's a bunch of people who get angry at me for not saying, for not praising Donny Cates anymore. I will never praise the man again. Maybe, well, I shouldn't say that. Maybe in 10 years, I'll praise the guy, right? For some of the work that he's done at some point, if he starts doing praiseworthy work again. But in my mind, he's still too young. He's still going to let it go to his head. And that's not what the man needs right now. He's a grown-ass man who needs to understand he's still fallible, he's still human. And know your farts do not smell good. All right? Like I know there's a bunch of us who think Donny Cates is the shit. But there's too many of us who realize that he's actually the drizzling shits right now. He can be better. He should be better. But he's believing his own hype. And we are just as much responsible for that. At some point, he's got to come down. He's got to bring his ego down and recognize that you're not King Midas. And even if you were, King Midas wasn't a good thing. We all think, the golden touch, oh my God, everything he touches turns to gold. Oh my God. That's not good for the things that he turns to gold. And at some point, he's going to accidentally touch you also. And then what? Right? It's important to understand that we have made a mistake by praising this guy simply way too much. And it's got to be rectified some way. We are responsible for this, right? I'm taking responsibility myself for this. At some point, we've got to recognize it's got to stop. And we've got to start being critical of the things that need a critique. I know there's going to be some people out there who are going to say, no, it's really good. And that's more wishful thinking than anything else. And that's a shame. It really, genuinely, in my heart, it is a shame. But praising somebody at this point who's not doing the work that they used to do is not praiseworthy. It's actually more harming. It does more harm than it does good. Guys, I'm done. I'm going to pull out at this point. All right, call it coitus interruptus if you want. But like, I'm really done with this. If I continued reading this comic book, it would literally just be to make fun of the comic book. And I don't want to sit here and start, and so this is hot garbage. I have no problem saying that right now. And it's been a long time since I've ever said anything like that. I'm not going to get hot over it. I'm not going to be offended by it because I realize my own part in this. Donny needs to be good again. He needs to get out of his head and get back to writing from the heart like he used to. And writing this hot garbage is not going to help. All right? Donny Cates needs to go away so we can miss him, right? How can we miss you if you won't go away, right? He needs to go away for a little while so that we can say, oh, I wonder. And then instead of him writing because he was assigned something, come back and say, hey, you know what I've got a really great idea for so-and-so character. Boom. That's how we get another fantastic book out of Cates. That's how we get the first part of the Venom series, not the second half. That's how we get the first part of the Venom series, where we're just like, oh. But he's got to come to grips with the idea that he's not doing it anymore. He's simply not pulling this off for people. And guys, that's it. I do have, if we're going to be smashing things, let me smash this.
You sons of guns had better like this video and watch an ad. I'm going to smash right through you also.
I'm joking. Love you guys. And I will talk to you later. Professor Bill, Comic Book University. There's your jump scare for the week. Class dismissed.